Topping today's news, U.S. officials downplay U.S. media reports on the recent travel advisory. The U.S. and the Bahamas talk about their efforts against gun smuggling. The opposition and the government still not on the same page when it comes to fighting crime. And we hear from individuals forced to relocate after their unregulated homes were demolished on Monday. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jarino Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News, and it is a pleasure to have you join us. Days after Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernanda reported on the police ongoing operations targeting gun and drug smuggling, the U.S. Embassy is sharing the extent of the manpower behind their efforts to assist the Royal Bahamas Police Force and the Defense Force. Here is U.S. Embassy Nassau Chargé d'Affaires, Usha Pitts.
We have a large law enforcement presence at the embassy. We have a lot of different agencies, including ATF, FBI, DEA. There's a lot of different law enforcement elements, and they are working with their Bahamian counterparts on a daily basis to control gun crime. We understand it's an issue here, and we work very closely together on it every day.
Ms. Pitts emphasized that the United States is working to enhance its continued security partnership with the Bahamas, highlighting the recently signed pre-clearance agreement and the Customs and Border Protection officers working to ensure the security of both nations. On January 26, the Royal Bahamas Police Force seized 9 guns and an estimated 1,500 rounds of ammunition and a large quantity of drugs smuggled into the country in a 40-foot container at the Rock Sound Government Dock on Eleuthera. Chairman of the official opposition Free National Movement, Dr. Dwayne Sands, is again criticizing the government over what he and the FNM describe as failed approach to fighting crime. In a statement on Sunday, according to Dr. Sands, the Davis administration is more focused on public relations than they are on finding real solutions to crime.
We are in one of the worst killing sprees in Bahamian history. This cycle of violence, murders, shootings, and stabbings started in the middle of November, and the murder and violence continued into February. A&E at PMH is treating victims of violence around the clock. The frequency of shootings, stabbings, and murders is frightening. Both the U.S. and Canadian governments have issued travel advisories for the Bahamas. The murders have made international headlines. But in the middle of the violence, the Prime Minister jetted off to Uganda to go sightseeing and to feed chimpanzees. So much for compassion. Last week, as the killings continued, he went off to Florida to see a dance company perform along with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. You see, the PLP is big into performing, but they are a massive failure when it comes to delivering good governance and public safety.
Dr. Sands goes on to accuse the Davis administration of having no real workable plan to fight crime and are just going through the motions of public relations exercises.
That Prime Minister Davis and the PLP have no serious response or strategy to fight the crime and violence that is resulting in so much loss of life and harm. Their strategy is public relations, speeches, spin, walkabouts, and rushed legislation. As I said before, the Prime Minister's crime, speech, and plan was a glitzy brochure filled with slogans. And just like their violence interrupter program that they promised almost 2 years ago that never got off the ground, much of what the Prime Minister is promising will amount to nothing, because public relations won't solve crime.
That was FNM Chairman Dr. Dwayne Sands criticizing the government's anti-crime strategy. While the official opposition continues to be critical of the government's handling of what has been dubbed a crisis in crime, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism Chester Cooper, during his contribution to the debate on the bill to amend the Bailed Act, called on the official opposition to put political differences aside and work together in the ongoing fight against crime.
In the spirit of unity, we recognize the importance of a united front with stakeholders to foster a collaborated, coordinated approach. And today I call on the opposition to assert the kind of nationalism that is required of real leaders during this time. Real political maturity demands of us an appreciation that when there are advisories that are adverse to us, that we recognize that politics ends at the border and that we are called to unite under trying circumstances.
Minister Cooper said when the country faces such challenges that reach beyond our borders, all sides should come together as one. He said the government has communicated the same to the official opposition.
Unified messaging and a clear understanding of our strategy will be shared amongst all stakeholders, creating a harmonious effort that resonates cross-border. And I have committed to the Leader of the Opposition, the Shadow Minister of Tourism, to be available to him and his team for briefings on the strategies being undertaken in the international market by our stakeholders and the Ministry of Tourism. We believe that this approach is critical in maintaining consistency in our communication efforts and reinforcing the positive narratives we seek to build.
Again, the official opposition, FNM, is accusing the government of failing on crime and engaging in public relations exercises as opposed to looking for meaningful crime-fighting policies. And finally, in this segment, as the Unregulated Communities Action Task Force continues with demolition exercises across the Bahamas, with the most recent exercise in a community off Coral Harbor Road known as Area 52, Jcn had the opportunity to speak with some of the displaced residents who watched as their makeshift homes were demolished. Arkale Campbell was on the scene and spoke with some of the residents, as we hear in this next report.
Former resident of Area 52, Monty Fran, has lived in the Bahamas for 27 years. The father of 2 children, who he says carry Bahamian passports, pointed to his dump truck carrying his home amenities a few feet away when asked where he and his family will have to sleep for the night in the aftermath of the demolition of the Area 52 shantytown. Despite Minister of Social Services Miles LaRota last month urging displaced former residents of demolished shantytowns to, quote, come forward, according to Monty, the ministry nor the Haitian embassy can provide any assistance.
We don't have no Haitian council who could stand up for us to say nothing. I mean, we just live like a dog. Because if we got a Haitian council who could stand up for us, he could say, I give you all 2 months, or we build something, Haitian could rent or to lease or could buy. We don't have nobody who stand up for us. Nobody. Social service, I've been there. I've been there already. Before they give me the 29 days, they tell me go to the social service. When I reach the social service, tell me, they done an order. You got to get Bahamian passport. You got to get residency. So I don't blame what they doing right now, because that's Ireland. I don't blame that. So my point is they have to give a chance.
Chobel Louis, another ousted resident of Area 52, has lived in the country for 29 years, moving when he was just 15 years old, told reporters he knows no other life than the one he has built in the Bahamas. According to Chobel, he was only made aware in December upon his return from a trip of the 28-day warning for residents of shantytowns to vacate. As a result, he was not able to gather his belongings before demolitions commenced on Monday morning.
That time how they put me out, they break my house. What do you have to do with my children? They there with me. When I really live there, that means I don't know nothing about my country no more. Because I came here when I was 15 years old. Because everything I have in the house, really mash up. They really break my house. With everything in it. If you have children, you just making a day's work with somebody, you can't get enough to save, like to live how you used to live, how you supposed to live. But you just living. But right now, but you have some place to sleep. But right now, you don't have no place to sleep. And you don't have no more what you always have. That means you have to start back with zero. It's very difficult right now.
Though not a resident of Area 52, Pastor Jcn Ambraville ministers for the people of the area, sharing the gospel for the residents since 2018. According to Pastor Jcn, Standing next to chairs, instruments, and speakers utilized by the church that once stood before being torn down, he proceeded to provide an avenue for the residents of Area 52 to worship under the guidance of the Lord, noting that he saw many persons give their life to Christ in wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. He explains to reporters that he sought the owner of the property where his church once stood before construction, however, was unsuccessful.
I know some of the police in the back there, they don't want to say nothing. I know some of them, they feel bad. They feel sad because we as women, just women, we have the same blood. If you cut, I cut, we have the same blood. A lot of people live in the back there many years. Some blind woman, blind man, they're supposed to talk to them or do something. They give it 21 days, they let the people move. They can't find a place. You know, if you have the children, you know, the landlord don't want the people to have the children. They can't find no place to go now. That's why we could see all this stuff for the church. When I talk to them, they say I have to move all this stuff to the church. If not, they get break every day. I say, okay, I know I won't. I say, God gonna deal with it. I know God have the plan. I don't know what God gonna do. But I know God have the plan for us.
Pastor Jcn shares the sentiment that there is little help offered to the people who live in shantytowns, directing particular criticism to Haitian pastors, stating that in his 17 years living in the capital, there has not been many Haitian pastors that have ministered for the people of Area 52. He states the reason is that, unlike him, they do not care for those people. For Jcn News, I'm Cale Campbell.
Thanks for that report, Cale. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.